Hey guys, welcome to the Whimsical Workshop. In this video we are going to be working on month 2 of our Snippets block of the month. This is a block of the month that we designed with Studio E fabrics, and we are all cut and ready to go. So let's get started. Alright, so this month we are ready to sew block 2 of our Snippets block of the month. This is a block of the month we designed for Studio E fabrics using their Snippets ombre fabric. The whole goal of this project is that you don't have to fussy cut the ombre. We are letting the light, mediums, and darks fall where they may within the block, and it still looks stunning. Here's a picture of the full quilt, just if you're not up to speed on what we're making. There is the block we are making this month. Last month we went over Last month we went over basic cutting, flip and sew, and half square triangles, and how to make those center units, a little bit about pressing. This month we're going to show you how to put this block together. I'm just going to fast forward over the cutting part because we covered that in the last month, so I will link that video below if you need more in-depth instruction. And then once I get everything cut, we will be ready to put our blocks together. We're going to be using the 3.5 inch fabric F pieces. We're going to be using both the 2.5 inch fabric C and the 1.5 inch fabric C pieces. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing flip and sew on each corner. So we're going to do that one on that corner and this guy down here on this corner. So we're going to go ahead and prep our pieces for the flip and sew. The instructions show you the traditional method, which is to take a ruler. I align the 45-degree mark on the ruler with the edge of the fabric square, and I align the edge of the ruler with the two corners of the fabric square. I also, when I do any marking, I start in the center and go out to my point so I don't stretch my fabric. So that is how we're going to go ahead and mark it. I'm also going to prep and get ready the second way to do it, which is using the folded corner clipper ruler. And how you mark those squares. In this fabric you have to be really careful because you can see the metallic on that side, and then on the other side it's sort of like you can still see those little sequin thingies, and on the camera it doesn't show it as well. But when you pick this up, be careful, make sure you have the shiny side for the right side and draw on the back side. The other method for doing flying geese we showed in the last video is using the folded corner clipper ruler, and this time we're marking the line 1/4 inch away from our sewing line, so our 1/4 inch foot can be right on the drawn line. But I like this method a little bit better because you can align this fabric square. Are you done? Okay. I like this method better because you can align the top of the square, the side of the square, the bottom of the square, this side of the square, and the diagonal, so you get a lot more reference points and you can be more accurate in drawing. Now the only difference between these two is you can do this with any ruler, and this one you need a specialty ruler. So we purposely put the directions using this so anyone can do it without having to buy more equipment. But this is the method I prefer, and you can choose which one you want to do because there's not a lot of squares in this one, but we do need to mark them all. So I'm going to go ahead and mark them all, doing the method I like, and then we will get into how to put these together. Got the first block sewn on, and you can see this is how you would do it for the directions. There's the line drawn from corner to corner, and I sewed right on that line, and then you can flip this out. And this is what happens a lot of times with this method. You can see it doesn't quite go to the corner. It's not the end of the world. You're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam around it, so it's not like you have to fix it. But if it's something that annoys you and just kind of bothers you that it doesn't always go to the corner, this method, where we sewed from corner to corner and we wrote our 1/4 inch foot on the line that we marked with the ruler, when you flip this one out, you'll see it matches perfectly. I wouldn't say it matches perfectly every single time, but it's pretty spot on way more times than this method. And again, this one you can do with just any ruler. This one you need to use a folded corner clipper ruler. It looks like this. This is a Creative Grids version. There are other ones. This is a pretty common ruler. If you go check your ruler stash, you may already own it. And the other thing that's really nice about these is there is, dig it out here, there is a big size. So if you do a lot of those flip and sew things on bigger squares, this is really handy to have as well. And I'll put a link below for both of these rulers if you are interested in them. Anyway, back to what we're doing. So here we've got these all ready to go. Now we can go ahead and cut and press these now, or we can press at the same time, which saves us a little bit of time by going ahead and putting these on next. They do not overlap, so therefore we can sew them on before we trim them all up. And I'm going to show you my trick on trimming them up. I'm going to lay these out, sew them on, and I will be back to show you how to trim them up and press them. So now that I've got all of these sewn, I'm going to trim them at one time. So what I do is I use a line on my cutting mat, and I'm aligning the points of the square on there. Again, we're just trimming away, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side. So even if it's not quite a 1/4 inch, it's not going to matter. It doesn't affect the piecing at all. It is just so you have enough seam allowance so the piece doesn't fall apart. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to layer these up. Now, if you do not feel comfortable doing this, you can just take scissors and cut. Now you can, this way we'll get rid of both layers of fabric. If you are concerned that it doesn't line up with your corner, you can just cut the center out and then flip this out and leave this back here. When you go to sew it to the next square, you can use this edge. So if you happen to have one that's like this, you know, you may, or several like that, you may want to choose to do this method, leave this back square, and then you can use it when you go to sew it to the next piece. I tend to not like the bulk in my pieces, so I do cut both away. But it's another option, up to you. And you can sit there with scissors and cut, and that's the other nice part about drawing the line with the ruler, is you know right where the 1/4 inch seam allowance is. And there we go. There is our first piece. But if you want to do it quickly, you can just lay these up on the right line. Make sure you're using the correct line. And then I'm going to take a rotary cutter. Let me just do a couple more here and then I'll show you what I do. Now I would probably layer out 16 or 18 of these. I think we only made 16 of these. But for the example, I'm just going to do a few. Take your ruler and your rotary cutter and you lay the 1/4 inch line on your ruler. Don't mess them up while you're fiddling with your ruler. You lay your 1/4 inch line of the ruler on the sewn line, and then you just trim away those. And then you can just turn them around, straighten it out, and repeat it on the other side. And if you do what I just did, you got to move this up. So you can see it doesn't matter if you layer from top down or bottom up. Make sure you lay the right size. There we go. And again, 1/4 inch line on my sewn line. And you can see how quickly you can get all of these ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these up, get my ironing pad set up, and I will show you how to press them. All right, so now that we've got all of these cut, we are ready to press them. I'm going to show you how I press them. We are going to flip this open gently, and we're going to use the edge of the iron and just make sure that you're laying the seam flat and that there's no fabric rolled inside that seam. Same thing on this side. We're just flipping it out. If you left the back square, it still gets pressed out. Okay, you don't want to press it in. It makes it a little easier to sew it. So that is how we're going to press all of these. And then we are going to be ready to move on to the next unit. All right, so there is that unit. Okay, so our next units, we're going to use the 2 by 3.5 J rectangles and the 2-inch B squares. And I'm going to go ahead and prep these squares the same way we did here, because we are going to be doing the flip and sew method one more time. And then once I get these sewn on, the first one sewn on, I'll come back and show you how to do the second half. These sewn, so I'm going to go ahead and trim them up and press them. And I'm just going to do a couple here and show you the next step, and then I'll finish these. So again, just stack them up. Take your ruler. Get rid of those. And we're going to finish those up in a second. But then before you can do the other side, you need to press the side open. You have to do that is because when we go to sew this guy on, you're going to see here it overlaps. So if you leave this flat, you can't flip this open. So you have to press this open before you sew the second half on. And then we're just, again, going to go from point to point, flip it out, and there's our little flying geese. So I'm going to wrap these up, and then we'll be ready to put our block together. All right, so I've got all of these sewn, and now you can see, you know, it's sewed, it's crossed that one that's already been pressed, and we're going to flip that open. And there we go. That will be, we're going to trim the back, and I just want to show you how this one goes. I'll do all the others the other way, and we're going to go ahead and press this open. And there we go. There is our little flying goose. So once we have all of these done, we're going to take these blue fabric F 2 by 3.5 rectangles, and we're going to sew a flying goose to the top of these. So I'm going to finish pressing these. I'll get these laid out, and I will get these sewn on, and then we'll be back to start assembling our block. Okay, so now that I've got all of these rectangles sewn onto our flying geese, we're going to go ahead and we are going to press it towards the solid rectangle. And again, same idea. I'm going to put the edge of my iron right in that seam to make sure I'm not rolling any extra fabric in. And there we go. This is unit 3. So I've already gone ahead and finished all of those. So to make our blocks, we have to make 4 of them. You're going to use 4 of the fabric A squares. Let me grab my ruler. There we go. Let's get that out of the way. So we're going to do 4 of these, and then these make the star points. So you're going to have to do, and I like to stack things up like this and then take it to the sewing machine so I know that all my points are going the right way. And that still doesn't totally guarantee I don't flip a piece, but it sure does cut down the chances of doing it, which we really don't want to have mistakes if we can avoid it. All right, and then these are the last 4. I also like to do this because then I have all the fabrics right side up. You saw I flipped all those so they were right side up. Now we have these guys. The little triangle is going to go towards the inner corners, and the big triangles are on the outside, and this is what creates like this blue wreath around the block. So those go there. So I take these over to the machine. I'm going to sew these together, and these together. I will bring it back and show you how to press the rows and then how to press the whole block, and we will be done with block 2. All right, we are back over here again. I have got my rows sewn together. Let's see how they go. 1, 2, 3, and then I've gone ahead and I've sewn the rest of the blocks together so that I can get these pressed. So let me show you how we're going to press the rows and then the blocks. So for the rows, we're going to take the center row and we're going to press it towards the square. And the reason I'm doing that is because there's no seam here and there is a seam there. So if you're fairly new to quilting, you may be like, well, how do you know which way to press? I always call it pressing in the path of the least resistance. Now on this one, because this is the center and I pressed, let's do it this way. Because this is the center and I press towards that center square, these are going to get pressed out. There is a couple seams here, but there's this really big run of solid fabric, which makes it lay a lot flatter, which is nice. So we're going to press both the top and the bottom towards the corners. Okay, so those are all pressed. And you want to make sure this stuff is nice and flat. I do not use starch or any kind of chemical on there. I use either this foily material or, like I mentioned in last month's video, I have a wool pressing mat on my ironing board and I absolutely love it because it does make everything lay really flat. All right, so now that we've got the rows pressed, I got to press these 2 seams. There is a lot going on here and here and here. So I'm going to opt to press these seams open. And I'm going to use our strip stick, which we have these in 18-inch and 9-inch. And I absolutely love these for pressing seams open. And I'm going to go ahead and drape this over. I'm going to get the seam started with my fingernail, or a purple thing works great just to get it started. And then we're just going to run down the square. And somehow I made this seam a little short. So I may have to go back and fix that. So let's just go ahead and do the other seam. Yes, I do make mistakes just like you. So let's try this side. So you can see here, it's pushing the seam, how quick and easy that works. Okay, so I'm actually going to scoot this up and try it from the other side because maybe I don't need to re-sew this. There we go. It just wanted to fight me right at the same point. It wants to fight. Every once in a while, you'll get a spot that just wants to fight you. All right, now that I have them pressed open, I'm going to go ahead and press this flat. Same spot. I don't know. That must have one of those metallic-y confetti things there. Though I have to say the fabric is really, really soft. You can't tell that there's a finish on it. I'm going to go back and check that after I'm off the camera. But there we go. There is block number 2. All right, you can tell I've been sewing. I got threads all over my shirt. All right, here we go. Month 2 is done. We need to make 4 of these for the Snippets block of the month. Go ahead and get those wrapped up. And then next month we will do block number 3. So I'll see you then. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified every time I drop a video. And if you've enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. Also, if you are working on this one, leave me a comment below. Let me know I'm not the only one sewing on this block of the month. I would truly appreciate hearing from you. Maybe send me a picture of what your blocks look like, or you can ask any questions in the comments below and I will answer you. We'll talk to you next month. All right, so this one was the one I was pressing open and it's causing a bulge. And I went back and I looked to see what my problem is, and you hopefully can see online on the camera there. I used about 1/8 of an inch seam instead of a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to pull this out and fix it, and I'm going to use my Zippy Ripper, which is this little power ripper. It has a tiny head on it. We sell these on our website, but they are awesome for ripping seams, and I thought I would use my mistake as an example to show you how to do this. Okay, so here we go. There we go. So, and then what it does is it leaves one long tail I can just pull away, and I'm going to repress this and resew it, and I think that will solve my bulging seam problem.